I had a lot of blame towards environmental things, towards my family, towards the trauma, towards myself. I was on the defense a lot. I've been putting all this negativity, all this blame towards the wrong things.
I used to be 320 pounds. They told me it was okay to be obese. My doctors, friends, and everyone, they enabled me that it was totally fine. And I believed them.
I had a stepdad who tried to control my weight into a way where I didn't realize was kind of grooming. So it was like, okay, so lose weight so you could be the ideal child bride for me.
We noticed that 79.2% of you are not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Come subscribe. We give you 5 days a week of free weight loss advice. And I mean, come on. It's a pretty cool vibe over here. So I'd love it if you'd come join. We really appreciate all of your support. So please don't forget to subscribe.
Welcome, everyone. Today we are here with M, the influencer who helps you grow. Did I say that correct? Yes. Amazing. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Well, I'm currently a student at Cal State East Bay. I influence via TikTok. I want to say TikTok. I've come out on Jubilee as well. I've come out just in a little bit of, I guess, Instagram-worthy pictures, but not too out there. Okay. But yeah, just really advocating just kind of for growth, for development, for being okay with yourself and your states and your own, I guess, authenticity.
Let's just dive right in.
Yes.
Tell me all of your thoughts on body positivity and just tell me what you think about it. How are you feeling about it? What are you seeing? What's your perspective?
Well, for me, I felt like body positivity switched meaning so many times growing up as a kid.
Okay.
Because I had a lot of blame towards environmental things, towards my family, towards the trauma, towards myself, like once I was a little older. And then that's when I took it to a place of like, well, body positivity to me means so much more than I guess the basic meaning, because there's just a lot of misconceptions about it. And I feel like for me it's just more about spreading love within yourself and knowing what you can do for yourself to give yourself that love.
Okay. And what do you think spreading love means to you when it comes to body positivity?
Spreading exactly that, just positivity, spreading good auras, good, like in Spanish is like animar. It's like to motivate, like, something along those lines.
And do you think it matters like how big or small you are? Like, does health ever come into play into loving that part?
I do believe that health does come into play with like loving yourself, because for me, I could stand here and it's crazy because I was mentioning before how I've been on Jubilee and I've had seen a cast member who I've seen years ago talking about the same thing about like obesity, talking about being fat and just being okay with being fat, but not being okay with being fat in that way. And I'll go deeper into that. But before, for me, it was like, I guess, very protective, I was on the defense a lot about it. And so when I started realizing like, hey, like I've been putting all this negativity, all this blame towards the wrong things, and it's not even coming from a shameful place. It's more of like when all of the blame was really towards me and my decisions and what I got up to, literally of how my weight got up to, So for me, that's what kind of played into that.
So would you say that you have like a pause? So dive into that a little more. I'm curious. So did this cast member that you're talking about, was she like proud of being obese? Like, is it something that you feel proud of too? Or like, how has that gone for you?
It was a he. He was really cool. He really wasn't about being proud about being obese or being, because that's what, at the end of the day, that's what we're marked as, obese. And that's just a result. That's what I am. That's what I'm labeled as. And it's like, I'm going to argue with a doctor. Like, no, I'm not obese. Like, you see the visual aspect of that, right? So that's the mentality I didn't have. Back then when we first met, it was like how dare you say that? How dare you say that I'm okay with being obese if I didn't say that? But it was like I was listening to him. What I got from that was so different than what he was really trying to get me to see. So once we met again for the second shoot, we haven't seen the video yet, but he literally broke character and he's like, wait, like everybody, I hope you know, like the last time we talked about this, you weren't like this. And I said, because I put a lot of blame again towards a lot of things. And I didn't realize that for me to love myself, I had to control and have discipline and have this commitment to myself which is something that excuse my French, but like it's something that I bullshitted for so long, and I didn't see that.
So are you saying that you used to think being overweight was beautiful and healthy, but then you kind of came out of that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I always thought being overweight was just, I guess, being overweight, and that's fine, but it was coming from a defensive, like, what do you have to say about me? But it wasn't like that, you know? Like, I was taking it from, like, everybody's making it such a, like, bad thing, but it wasn't a bad thing. The message behind it was, because I wasn't ever trying to promote, like, you guys should look like me, and I'm okay with looking the way I look, because I was not okay with feeling the way I felt.
Oh, you know, this is, I'm so glad we're sitting here. Yeah. This is so good, because, so I don't know if you know this, but I used to be 320 pounds. Yes. And so they told me it was okay to be obese. My doctors, friends, and everyone, they enabled me that it was totally fine. And I believed them. And then for a second, I really was like, oh yeah, I'm beautiful, I'm obese, I'm healthy, like I'm fine. But I knew inside that I wasn't healthy. Like I felt like that feeling like you're talking about. Yeah. But people don't talk about this.
Yeah. And like, I feel like there's just a mix of a lot of feelings about it. That's why.
Yeah. So do you think you were forced into this like mindset that being obese was beautiful and healthy and like totally fine? Like, oh, and if you say I'm obese, you're mean?
Right. I felt like at first I did feel this way of protecting that fat girl for such a long time because nobody protected her. And I was never told that it was okay. I was like the opposite, like the other opposite side of your coin, where it was like, it's never okay to be fat.
Really? Who told you that?
Everybody since I grew up. Like everybody from like the little cousins that I had, they would like literally bully me and be like, oh, we don't want to hang out with you because you're bigger than us.
I relate to that.
Yeah.
I relate to that.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It's hard because then you just feel like you can't make friends.
That's true.
You know? And
I had like no friends.
Yeah.
That's true.
We see each other.
We do. No, we do. And it's very lonely. But they don't talk. But like now they're glamorizing it.
Yeah.
And they're glorifying it.
I feel like there's ways to go about it. There's ways to like, and I felt like that's why the last video that I had came out on, like I met, and I believe her name was Danielle. She's a model and she's very body positive. And when we're talking to the contrasty side, they were just kind of referring to like, well, like you guys are practically saying that being obese is being okay. And we both have very different conceptions of it. And for me, it was like, I never said that. I always said that for my personal, like everything is taken personal. Everybody takes things personally. And so that's true. The problem.
Yeah.
That's exactly the problem, because at the end of the day, I could sit here and just, you know, hear from everybody in every corner, like, you're promoting obesity, like, that's all you want, that's all you're glorifying it. But for me, it's like, sit down and ask me a question. Like, I don't glorify it. I don't also believe, like, oh, you shouldn't be fat. Like, some people just can't help their situation. It's not that they can't help themselves, because at the end of the day, I do believe that everybody could do something, a little spark, a little... Even if it's like a get up, get down, get up, get down a couple times.
You all have to use a bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's just the bare minimum. If you're doing that, I feel like you shouldn't take it in like a way of like, well, you're telling me what to do. You're telling me what I'm saying. It's like, no, it like bounces off me. It's no effect.
So this person you were on a panel with, did you ever talk with her and be like, hey, look, I'm overweight. Like, this isn't something, did you ever like have that conversation?
It was like a group, I guess, discussion on the floor.
Yeah.
But, I told her my take on it, and she was like, whoa, I guess you put that in better words than I would have, because a lot of bigger influencers struggle with wording or articulating what they say. And at the end of the day, your word is your word. Your word is your say, you know? So for me, that's why I felt like fixing probably what I think in that way would help me more versus just going and shutting her down. And so for her, it wasn't like I was trying to shut her down of like, no, like just because I'm big, I'm beautiful, voluptuous. Like, I know I'm beautiful, but that has nothing really for me to do with like connecting the weight to beauty. For me, it's connecting my weight to my health and connecting to the way that I could help myself. And I know how now, more so now than I knew, and I was ignorant before with, you know, then.
So did you used to have this mindset of being big is beautiful?
I felt like, no.
Really? Never, ever?
I've always been told which is a crazy thing. I've always been told, like, you're big and you're beautiful, but I've always, like, I'm not saying because I'm big, I'm beautiful. I'm saying I'm big, I'm beautiful, I'm what, Latita, I'm this. It's just, like, once again, characteristics, or they're just, like, things that I'm explaining, versus taking it and being like, because I'm big, that is why I'm beautiful. You know? Because then people take that and they run with it. Like, you know, how I ran with it as a kid. Like, okay, well, because, you know, and I guess, yeah, maybe, yeah. What you're saying, maybe, yes, I agree. You know what? Now I'm, like, taking myself in that circle of, like, yeah, as a kid, seeing that, I guess, on TV being argued against made my head be like, no, it should be okay.
Right. Right. Like seeing, like, I don't know if your algorithm ever, TikTok or Instagram or, I don't know, friends, girls who are like, you get it, girl, you're so beautiful. And you're like, but I don't feel beautiful. Like, inside, like, I don't recognize myself in the mirror anymore. But then, I don't know, did you ever have that?
I don't know if it's going to sound, like, so egotistical to be like, no. Because it just comes from the strength, I guess, that I had as a kid. And it might be very private for me to even discuss, but if you're open to receiving it. My weight has always been a sexualized thing since I was, like, 5 years old.
What do you mean by that?
So I had a stepdad who tried to control my weight into a way where I didn't realize was kind of grooming at the time. So it was like, okay, so lose weight so you could be the ideal, like, what is it, a child bride for me. And so that threw me off. And then I rebelled against that. I rebelled against, like, wanting to lose weight for a split second in my life. And that caused all these complexities of course, if you binge, you're going to suffer that. You're going to suffer from those decisions. So that's where the fupa came in. That's where everything, you know, because I started running with that. Like, okay, well, just because, like, I want to protect myself by making myself in a way bigger. I did that. And then it went into a better place once I was in high school. I was in basketball, and I was with a coach who was just on my ass for, like, 4 years. So that's where I fluctuated. That's where I started the blame with, like, it's blaming everybody else.
It's really interesting you bring that up, and thank you for sharing, because there's a lot of women who do gain weight when they're little and when they get older to protect themselves from men who try to put them in that situation, which I find really interesting. Not condoning it, by the way, you guys. Right. Not saying you should go gain weight so that you cannot be attractive to somebody. That's not.
It hurts your body. It hurts the way that you really your health after that.
Right. And I'm like, why are more people not a stand for that and speaking about that? Because we see these influencers promote this unhealthy image and they don't talk about the negative health impacts. And I'm like, do you ever think about that, talk about that, want to speak out about that?
Yes, because I went through something very personal recently in November. I've always been on this journey where, and it's crazy because I'm always on this journey where I'm losing weight, I'm going to classes, I'm going to these gym classes to lose weight, and then I get an injury. And then I'm back in my cycle of, like, I think that's my faith putting into it, like the spirituality, everything of it. I feel like that's a way to be like, okay, so can you really do it? Let me start you over then. Can you really do it? So that's what I took it as. But then it got to a point where, sorry, I'm blanking. I'm like, but
you're good.
It was just very hard for me to find a good balance. And then I started realizing, like, wow, because I had a DNC surgery, and it was based off of what supposedly would have been a really bad pregnancy. So already, and I don't want to assume, but I mean, I can assume because it was my weight, because since I was a kid, the doctors were always like, you know, if you're fat, you're going to have trouble having kids. So I started to spiral in my mind about hearing all of that as a kid and now being an adult and being heavier than what I am now. Like, I was pounds heavier. And I got the surgery because of the complications and everything bad that was coming out of my body. And it already traumatized me enough. And then having to go through that and then be like, now I have to recover. And now I get to lose weight. I don't have to. I'm not trying to force myself. It's not coming from everybody telling me to do something. It's because now I see that I have sciatic pain on my left side. Why is it that the second that I lost like 20 pounds, the pain went away?
Wow.
The pain went away. I got a job. Right now I'm on a break with that job because of my finals, but I got a job where I climb basically the what is it, the Stairmaster every day, up and down, walking over 11,000 steps a day.
Wow, amazing.
And saw the change, and I was just like, I didn't see it before because I didn't ever do it to that extent where I lost that much weight. And I don't even see it now because I still feel like I look the same because I'm with my body every day. But I have friends who have told me, like, you don't look the same, like your face looks slimmer even though it's not a big progress. Or like, this is the first time I've seen you progress this far.
Wow.
And it's because of all of that into account.
And so your friends support you?
Yeah, my friends definitely support me.
Do you have friends who don't support you losing weight or who are like, that's so fat phobic?
No. I have friends who well, they kind of want to not lose weight. I do have friends that are like that, who are just like, okay, but like, why are these so skinny now? And I'm on the opposite end, like, oh, these got smaller.
So that's so interesting. So do you feel like having friends who don't want to like help, like are not for you losing weight, like that body positive girl on the panel, like why do you think you're so friends with those people? I'm just curious. I'm genuinely curious.
Because I've learned to not take it personal. In a way where it just kind of does separate a lot of what I do with my activity. That's where the individualism comes in. That's where the discipline comes in, where I'm like, okay, if you don't want to go work out, I'm gonna go work out. Like I
love that.
I not need to, but I get to do this because I get to do this about like 4 times a week. Because now I see how much calories I take a day. I see how much I weigh myself every day. I see if I lose 3 pounds a day or not, which I've been successful in.
Wow, congratulations.
And thank you. And it's just really about just making all those switches, but also not making it like it's such a dramatic switch. Like, oh my gosh, like I hate all of this like progress. I hate all these like swaps. Like the swaps aren't that bad.
They're not that bad.
They're not that bad. And they're what? Like they don't make me feel how I would feel when I would eat. And I would eat a lot, girl. I would eat so much.
Me too.
I would eat so much.
Me too. I used to eat a lot too. What was your favorite thing to eat?
Oh, I would eat Korean soul food.
Okay.
And I would eat, and that's a lot of like rice cakes, a lot of dough, a lot of ramen, a lot of rice.
How about crab rangoons?
Crab rangoons as well.
Those used to be
dumplings,
my favorite.
The
buns, yeah. Yeah.
And
I remember that. And so now, what are you doing now for your health?
Well, I'm currently in this program. It's a leadership program with my coach. His name is Luis. I might butcher his last name, Renfinho. Him along with other coaches have been like riding me from dusk till dawn with, okay, what are you consuming today? What's your plan for the week? What's your weight today? What do you get to do for yourself today? And okay, we're going to leave you to it. And then all we need is feedback. And so being with that hard, like discipline, hard tension of, okay, well today, what did I eat? Do I have anything to help me with that? I have a calorie tracker app. Awesome. I'm walking this much. I have that health app linked. Okay, cool. I got a Fitbit just recently. So nice. Thankfully, I'm going to be able to do more calculating because I walk way more than my phone calculates. So it's all just about being able to allow myself to want to do those things.
Like that get to mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but you were kind of saying that you used to have this body positive mindset where you were like, I'm big, I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you still kind of, it doesn't sound like you're in that anymore. Are you?
I feel like I'm just, I'm beautiful, but
okay.
I get to do a lot of things for myself to save myself from what I used to feel.
Do you think being like morbidly obese is beautiful in general? Like when you see a morbidly obese woman, do you think, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful? Like truly, genuinely?
I don't have any conceptions.
Really?
Yeah. I surprisingly, I felt like, and it's coming from somebody who I would degrade myself a lot, you know, that's why I don't know if there's just something wrong with me, or I don't know if I've never had that like tension within me to feel that way with like women or just with bigger women. It's probably because I've been the biggest woman to myself and I've seen myself as the biggest woman. So I don't know if that's like a body warp mentality in my head for so long. And I guess it just was never a beauty thing to me. It was always just like I guess character, or I don't know. I'm just a compliment giver, and it's always more so like, of course, if I see somebody struggling with the cane and like all this breathing apparatus is on them, like maybe I'll make an assumption in my mind of like, whoa, like maybe they're struggling. You know, and that's what I get. That's my bias of it, like, oh, struggle, like probably are having a hard time.
But would you say that person is beautiful, drop dead gorgeous? You know, like there are, I feel like maybe you don't think, do you have beauty standards? I should ask. Do you think there are beauty standards, or do you think that we have beauty standards? Do you have beauty standards?
I personally don't. I don't. Because I feel like beauty falls a lot into more about, and this is coming from like my major study area of it falls into race. It all falls into race. It falls into the background, into the culture of what that standard was. So back then, I felt like the standard was, of course, those glorified like big Italian women, and because of they have the luxury of being big, they have the luxury of having money, and then the adaptation changed, and it became like the flapper girl era, and then that's when that became more of like this is the standard. And since then it was like like model shows, like very, very cigarettes and drugs and no food. And I felt like that's been the wave for so long. And so now we have everything in between. Now we have the curvy ideal, like you have to have a fat butt. You have to have big hips. You have to have big waist and big boobs. And now that's glorified. And then it's just all really based on taste. But I feel like that's why I'm saying, like, I don't know if there's just something wrong with me with not having taste for any of it.
Well, I think my question really is, we've as a society gone really far into the extreme. So yes, we started at anorexia years ago. Anorexic models who looked like, are you sick? Yes, I remember that. Now we have a different kind of sick being showed everywhere. When you see a plus size model, or when you see plus size models on the covers of these magazines and Vogue, like, what do you think that's saying to our young girls and kind of like showing them?
For me, I feel like it exposes them to it. It exposes them a lot to just different bodies. I feel like tabloids or media or anything that anybody puts a caption to has a lot of like either rage bait, has a lot of just misconceptions. And I do feel like it just has a lot to do with how the individual has their preferred, I guess, taste, or, you know. But for me, that's why I feel like I don't, you know.
So earlier you were saying that race is why you don't have beauty standards. Is that correct?
Oh, it aligns with that.
Okay.
It aligns with that. I feel like there's a lot of complexity behind what the standard, I guess, is to everybody personally. But the beauty standard that I've always seen has always been like, I guess, the clean girl aesthetic, the very you don't have a fupa. And I don't know if that's a cultural thing, because growing up, that was always a thing for my household. It's like the second you get a fupa, like that's when you know you're fat. Like that's when you know you're not pretty. And that's where that came from. So that's why for me, it has a lot more to do with like if I see somebody who's like double my size and is a model and has all these luxurious things, my mind is so scrambled that it takes it to a place of like, wow, like, but she has all these things that I don't.
Interesting.
She has all these cool, like, wow, like, she looks so professional. Wow. I'm like, okay, well, but that's why I'm saying, like, my mind doesn't go directly towards their body. It goes towards what they have. But I do believe that I you know, I struggled with that as a kid.
With what in specific?
With being, I guess, non-judgmental.
Okay. I don't know that I would agree that having a beauty standard is being judgmental. Because I would say it's just kind of like, for example, if you want a nice bed and you're like, oh, I just want like a comfortable bed.
Yeah.
It's like you're obviously not going to choose the not comfortable bed.
Right.
And so I feel like, I think it might be a challenge our society has, that we've kind of lost the beauty standard, because now we show young girls, younger than you and I, you know, these morbidly obese models who are sick. But that's not, it's not like they're not showing what they're doing behind the scenes, because you and I know, because we have been obese and have been on the weight loss journey and are still on the weight loss journey. And it's not easy, the binge eating, and that's not shown on that tabloid. And so I come from the place of like, young girl doesn't know much about the world, right? She's just learning, and she's seeing these morbidly obese women in Target, for example, all in the covers, you know, Instagram, socials, like it's everywhere. And she doesn't know any better. but they're saying it's beautiful. So then she's believing it, and she's like, oh, I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know it's happened to other people too, because it's not just me. What do you say to that?
I feel like it all could be said for anything. Like the same mentality of seeing, I guess, things that way with body positivity and being like, I guess, seeing the question of course, seeing somebody on Target or whatever in an ad and then being obese and the influence of that with kids or with young girls. I feel like the same could be said for a lot of other things, you know. But specifically for that, I don't know. Just because I'm not fully done with my weight loss journey. So having a skinny mindset is something that I guess I've never had, of like the thinner the better.
But is it a skinny mindset or is it a healthy mindset?
For me, the skinny mindset seems to be like thinner is better. But for me, the healthy mindset would be like the way you look, of course, matters. But then what are you doing to, I guess, back that up?
Well, like, what if you're 400 pounds or 500 pounds and you're doing what you think is right?
Right.
But you're 400 pounds. I mean, you know.
Right. Well, at that point, it would be a question as to, like, if they're sure of what they think if they're doing is right, but is it enough? You know? Because they could be doing everything right and still eat like shit. And still be like, oh, I'm still 400 pounds and
that's
angry.
what I mean.
You know? But
that's this whole body positive thing that we have going on, right? Because it's like, okay, you'll see these really, really big women. And I come from a place of genuine, like, concern, not like hate. I don't hate overweight people. I help overweight people every day lose weight. So I don't hate them. I was overweight. So it's like I have this compassion and I also have this reality of, like, you are, like, I know you're sick because I know what that sickness feels like. But, like, can we show more of that so that we can actually help people? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think when we're showing women and young girls, like, oh, yeah, look, I'm doing everything I can and I'm still 500 pounds, but it's all good. At least I'm beautiful. I'm like, that's not healthy because you're not showing the real side of what you're actually struggling with. Like, I think that would be more helpful.
Yeah, like a documentary type of thing. Like,
well, just promoting the reality. Like, look, I'm overweight. I don't like how I look. I want to work on it. Audience, hold me accountable. You know, like, I love these two people, they do that on social media. They like, you know, walking to lose weight. I don't know if you've seen them, but I'm like, that's empowering. But this idea, like you were alluding to earlier, like, I'm overweight, but I think I'm beautiful and I'm working out. And you were saying, like, oh yeah, but they're still eating crap, but they're not showing that.
Yeah.
Like what are we going to do about that? Genuinely.
Yeah. My one thing would just be, sadly, and I say sadly because it's just not to blame. At the end of the day, that's a struggle they're internally struggling with. And I feel like that's why I'm saying, like, a lot of defense comes towards, like, that projection of, and that's why I understand what you mean, of, like, the whole projection of, like, no, because I'm big, I'm confident,
Right.
I get that part.
There's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that. And that's why I feel like those are the worst adversaries for what I guess the body positivity movement is. And it's just really about singling out those influencers and trying to, I guess, kind of like, once again, I'm on my final girl mindset, kind of like a Google where you go and look up something, you have to fine tune the advanced settings to look for exactly what you're looking for.
But do you think that we should even have body positive, morbidly obese women online?
Yeah.
Why?
Because there's a lot of people who, I guess, well, going off of obese, touching on to, like, with diabetes and with actual health problems, like, obesity has always been, of course, a health problem. I feel like you can't prevent it the same way you can't prevent, like, people trying to save kids from being influenced by girls who are pretty and have OnlyFans accounts. You know?
That's very interesting. I've never heard that argument. Yeah. That's really interesting.
It could be said the same way, where there's a lot of girls who look very pretty, who are very young looking, and they're influenced by these creators who are beautiful and fit and have all these health things, but at the end of the day, they have something else that they're promoting, you know, and I'm not coming for them either. It's just more of like, that's what they're promoting. Same could be said with somebody who's in a bikini and is completely overweight or obese or what can we call it. and they see that and they're like, well, I want to go outside and walk outside in a bikini.
You know what I have a problem with? I have a problem with the ones that are paid. Like,
yeah.
There are paid. There are overweight.
Like mukbangers that just eat.
Well, yeah, they're paid by, but also plus-size clothing companies pay influencers to sell more plus-size clothes. So they have to be body positive when they're wearing their clothes in their bikinis. Yeah. And that's like, I mean, now we're promoting gluttony, just straight up gluttony. And same with OnlyFans. Like, yes, OnlyFans is promoting prostitution, basically. But so is plus-size clothing companies that are, like, sponsoring these morbidly obese influencers. Did you know that 4 body-positive influencers died in 2024? Wow. It's real, and it's serious. My grandma died from obesity. But, like, you didn't even know that.
No, I've only known about the influencer who was body positive, who was just, they died due to an allergic reaction. And that was just based off of something completely different. But that's the only thing I've heard because of, I guess, the following and everything. But, yeah, I don't...
But you still think we should have morbidly obese influencers, like, for certain... You're saying, like, for certain search engines.
Yeah, it's all really just, for me, at least in my mindset and the way I see it, the way that you stand with the whole, like, you don't think they should be paid. At the end of the day, there's somebody that's going to be making money. There's always going to be that clientele to watch them too, because at the end of the day, there's people that also enable all of that. So in a perfect world, of course, there would be influencers who, you know, are very much healthy and have a good safety net and have good resources for everything. But then there's those influencers who really do just get lucky, and they get the deals, they get everything. And then the same with the clothing and the same with the plus size, like they need models for them.
Do you think we should just ban plus-size models?
For what?
Just not have them. Just not have plus-size model, like just plus-size, like above, let's say 4X. Do you think we should just not have it? Therefore, we wouldn't have that media.
No, I feel like we should have them just because, once again, at the end of the day, there's call and demand. There's people that literally have no chance of changing their lives. And they want to be the way they want to be. And that's something that they take accountability for. And at the end of the day, that's what's sad.
Do you think it's really taking accountability for it, though, if really those companies are just enabling their behaviors? Because I don't know that being obese is taking accountability in any way, shape, or form. I don't know that settling...
taking accountability.
Yeah.
There you go.
But so why do you think they should still exist? I'm just curious.
Because they're gonna be out there. like I get the push for like advocating for against that, or for trying to, like, I guess, slim down the agenda. No pun intended, but you know, I get the push for that. I also don't really condone it. For me, it's just more of like every day is a challenge, and it sucks because sometimes there's people that can really do something about it, and then there's people that want to do something about it. But then we have those people who possibly are those influencers, who possibly are those people who are getting paid or possibly getting the model deals, who just get lucky and are okay with the way they are and are just okay with promoting that. And there's nothing to be done because it's just like, wow, at the end of the day, that's your mindset. That's what you want to push for.
I don't know that as a society we should settle for that. You know, like, so somebody said, like, all overweight people should go to a concentration camp. And I'm like... Ooh. I know that's it's intense, right. But I was on their show once, and I was like, I see why they're thinking this way. What do you think about that? Let me just hear your thoughts first.
I don't want to think about.
You don't want to think about it?
No, that's so messed up to say.
Okay, well, tell me why.
Because you're making not you, but they were making a joke to something historically.
I don't think they were joking though.
I know, but that's why I'm saying, like, you're pushing something very violent, and the history of that violence was genocide. You're gonna push that onto a topic like weight. You know,
then later on they said something like just like a camp, where they get fit.
Well, there's fat kid camps, like there's always been
but not for like you know how people go to jail because they break the law. But there's no jail for us breaking the law on our own bodies.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like when we self-harm, for example, and I would say that overeating is like self-harming.
Yeah.
like, there are punishments for that. Like, when you self-harm at a certain age, you go to the psych hospital.
Right.
So what are we doing when it comes to gluttony? Which is, like, it's, like, one of the biggest issues, and nobody wants to talk about it. Like, nobody wants to talk about this stuff.
Right.
No one. Mm-hmm. And I've reached out to thousands of people by now. So I know how much they don't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Even models don't want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Like this.
Right.
Because because I think they know. Mm. Like you knew, like you were saying you knew. You knew that being obese wasn't like okay and healthy and beautiful. Like you told me.
For my situation.
Yeah.
But
me, you think for other situations it's okay?
For other people, I can't control them. Like I can't.
Well, you can't control them, but you can be like, yo, it's not healthy. It's not beautiful. Can you say that?
For me? Like for me to say that to them?
Right? No, but I mean like your opinion. Mm-hmm. When you see overweight people, are you like, oh, that's good, that's healthy, that's beautiful?
No, I just don't have any mind to I guess, and that's probably my problem because I don't take them into account in a personal aspect, but probably I should care about them in that way, you know? I think that's where I lack, but I feel like if I were to see somebody big, I just see them as somebody big because at the end of the day, I get, like, I guess the same stares. And I'm so not used to that, but that's all I've seen. So for me to be also doing a difference and then being really, like, I've had a trainer tap me on my shoulder and he was like, wow, like, you know, because I was on the elliptical for like 40 minutes. And it was just crazy to hear that feedback from him and being like, you approached me. At the end of the day, if you're that bothered to approach, or if the person, not you, if the person is that bothered to approach them or the individual about whatever issue they have in mind, there's clearly something going on in their own mindset about the topic that either hasn't been unhashed or hasn't been healed, or it's just something that they want to really fight for. And all of that comes from that care, you know, in your heart of like, I care for you that much.
Yeah. So if you saw somebody, or do you have any overweight friends currently?
I have plenty.
Really? Do you tell them they need to lose weight or no?
No.
Do you work out with them?
No, I work out for myself and with myself.
So you don't care to be like, hey, you should work out or anything like that?
I ask them if they want to work out with me and if they want to get a progress start or something.
That's good.
You know, but I think that was, like you said, how I had that one friend who didn't want to work out. That's where my struggle started. That's where my struggle, but then that's when I realized that, wow, I'm like, the struggle is starting with me caring about somebody else doing something about them when the call is coming from inside the house. Like, I want to do something about me.
Yeah.
So that really separated, I was, I guess, mature enough to separate that from them. And at the end of the day, I always do talk about my progress. I talk to them about what I'm doing. I send them gym photos. Great. Yeah, and I do send them all that stuff to just maybe, you know, spark something.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, as somebody who's trying to be somebody who motivates, that's all I can do.
Yeah.
And I pray to God that they take it. And if not, then I can't blame them. But at the same time, I can't be there for when they're crying about it and they're feeling that way and upset about themselves, because at the end of the day, I just look at them and I'm like, so what do you want to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want to do about it?
Yeah.
And they might answer me with I want to go get ice cream. That's great, let's go get, but I'm not going to eat ice cream. I have this going on. And that's the hard discipline that I've just now, like a couple months now, have been setting into myself, because it changed me that much. It made me lose 20 pounds that quick.
So, wow. So in total, you lost 20 pounds.
So far, I have a couple more that I haven't calculated.
That's amazing.
for this month, yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's great. And you're doing it all naturally?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I don't have the money to do anything. No.
What would you think? Do you think, have you thought about Ozempic at all?
No, because I don't even have the resources to think about it. Like, I do have the resources to look it up, to have a possibility to apply to all these things for Medi-Cal,
Medicaid. Would you do
Medicaid.
it with what you know?
Not if I don't need it.
That's good. Because there's a lot of bad stuff going on about it.
I've heard that there's just a lot of people that take it and consume it or consume
it. Bone density loss, vision loss.
Yeah.
We have no idea what it's going to do to fertility, future children.
I also do have friends that take it and it's benefited them in because they've had the reason to take it or they've needed to take it. It wasn't because they're doing it to lose weight and be on the journey.
Is it for diabetes?
It was for diabetes.
Okay.
So it was more so that's what I've seen. I guess they did benefit from it. They've been doing better. But besides that, I don't have, and that's why I guess that's why I'm saying like my mind always spirals to the cultural, to the environment, to everything, because if I had the luxury of maybe thinking about Ozempic and maybe thinking about it in that way where I'm like, maybe I want to try it, and if I had the money for it, I don't know. I can't sit here today and talk about it in that way because that's a what if occasion. But since
I would highly recommend you not do it. Whatever you can do,
I
don't.
believe you.
No, really, I had a doctor on
Really?
who prescribes Ozempic. And I had a gastroenterologist on, and she was like, we don't know what it's going to do to the gut microbiome. We have no idea. Because they haven't tested it on them.
Right, yeah.
And it's not been out for weight loss for long enough. Only for diabetes. So that's when people get confused. Because they think, oh, it's meant for weight loss. You're like, no, it was originally for diabetes, and now they're saying it's for weight loss.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Yeah. No, I'm okay off of it. I've only heard people really talk about it in a consumer way, so I don't think I was okay with that from the start.
Okay, good. No, I'm glad. But text me before you ever. No, because I have papers, research. I have like a stack. I have a binder.
Like the bookworm.
I actually started looking into clinical trials and everything because it's concerning.
Yeah.
And on the black box warning, it says thyroid C-cell tumor. And the doctors aren't like, by the way, you could get like a really rare type of thyroid cancer. They're not telling you that.
Oh my God.
Because it's like that's not gonna help them.
Yeah. No.
Doctors only get 15 minutes with their patients. That's all they can do. They can't do more than that.
I've had a doctor after my sciatic pain. They were like, "Oh, just touch your toes for me." I touched my toes. Like, "Oh, you're all better."
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And cleared me to go back to my job.
And did your doctors ever talk to you about your weight too, or no?
Yes, as a kid, all the time.
And it was later on too, or not as much?
Well, I didn't go as much. I dealt with a really hard situation in my life where I was not homeless, but I was getting by for maybe 2 years. And then I went back home, and then the same thing happened with my abuser. He returned home, so I had to leave.
Wow.
And I left again. And I feel like that's why a lot of the things that I go through when I think of obesity and I think of everything, and that's probably my fault too. I shouldn't put it in the back burner because like I'll get to it because my weight to me matters because it's a personal thing to me. It's something that was destructive for so long and I didn't see it. And this is not me coming from like I want to be this skinny girl. Like I'm just like, no, like I've seen what losing that much weight has done, and I know that now I'm not hurting, and that
So it sounds like you really don't think being obese is healthy. It sounds like you know that for a fact. Is that true?
Well, for me, I don't know.
For you.
Situations.
Do you think being obese is healthy?
No, it's a borderline of, passing obesity is the unhealthy line, but I don't think that obesity correlates in a way where being obese is, I guess, you're not beautiful if you're obese.
So you do think people who are obese are beautiful?
Yeah, I just think anybody.
You think anyone is beautiful?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think anyone is beautiful like on the inside, but externally there could be people who are not beautiful?
No, I just like, this is such a hard concept for even my boyfriend to grasp. But I'm like, just like, I just don't have physical. I don't know if that's just a desensitization behind all of the trauma and the abuse of like types and beauty and the way I perceive beauty.
I think like, beauty is symmetrical. So I think like in the Renaissance, when they had like those beautiful frescoes and this beautiful architecture, we've lost that today. And there was like this traditional, beautiful art that we don't have anymore. Like we have these really boxy buildings that are cold and they have no beauty to them. But when you go to Europe or when you go, there are some places in America that still have it. It's beautiful. You can say that's beautiful. And then you can look at a box, a hotel and be like, that's not beautiful. Because it has no symmetrical shapes. It has no beautiful architecture. Do you know what I mean? And when you see like a beautiful person, for example, usually they are thin. And that's symmetrical because it's like symmetrical. Our bones are like this. Let me ask you this. Do you know how body positivity originated?
I believe in the 1970s.
Do you know what it was originated for?
It was for the marginalized communities. really.
What does that mean? Can you define that for me?
The Black, the queer, the handicapped community, where it was more so off of what I've kind of gotten off of it. I'm stemming off of, again, some studies, but that it came from a line of like these marginalized groups were targeted, and they've always been targeted, of course, with the race and the system, but more so with the weight. There's always been the status of like, I guess, the flapper, era. And so when we get into all these basically minorities just not having anybody to, I guess, even then, because I don't know, like, it goes back to the Holocaust of like how they really took people who were gay, people who were crippled, people who were this and people who were that. It fell along with the same way of like, there's just always been that targeted group. So that's where that stemmed from, to advocate for them, take a stance for them, and to include them. And over time, it became less inclusive and more into every which way,
That's very interesting. So the definition I learned and I researched, which could be different from yours, or Google might have changed it because Google's a very interesting company. When I learned about it, and we can also fact check this, it was originated for people who had no limbs, who were born without limbs. It wasn't like about race or anything. It was really literally about people who had like spots on their skin. They were born with, people. Have you seen those people who have patches of like white and pink on their skin?
Like vitiligo?
Maybe. And I'm not exactly sure what that is, but maybe. I don't know the name of it. But they're born without a leg or an arm or teeth, or they have like a weird shaped nose. People who are like literally born with these physical challenges, if you will. Yeah. Like some people are born with an eye that's like up here, or a nose that's
or
like
no
deformed.
Like Cupid's bow.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me. Some people are born without legs, or they're born as a midget. That is like body positive for them. Or people who've lost limbs in accidents or the war. Things like that.
Yeah.
But it was not originated for morbidly obese people to say it's totally fine to be morbidly obese. Like, that was not why it was created or what it was created for.
Yeah.
But now we're like, oh, it's fine. We've said it's so fine, we're going to put it on the front cover of Vogue. Miss Alabama is 400 pounds. So every girl who worked super hard, exercised, dieted, did all these things to like win, lost, and Miss Alabama won. How does that make you feel? For like fairness?
Yeah, fairness, it has a lot to do with, I guess, how they even graded any of that.
Well, I would say Miss America, Miss Alabama, Miss America even, these things beauty does play a role. That's why these girls are like drop dead gorgeous and they work out and they get fit and they get spray tans and they do all these things.
Yeah, like a pageant.
For Miss Alabama to be 400 pounds seems a little unfair. Would you say?
I don't know. It just all falls to particular taste. It really does.
But here's my thing. Like, here's my real question for you. It's like, can you say that being obese is really beautiful? If you don't believe it's healthy, how do you believe it's beautiful?
Because beauty is a conception.
Why is beauty a conception?
Because beauty has everything to do with confidence. So I feel like if you're not confident enough to believe that you're beautiful, or to believe that you could stand for being beautiful for yourself, and no matter what anybody tells you, that's true.
Well, that's a good point. And so people who are morbidly obese don't actually love themselves because they are obese. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't.
So you don't believe that loving yourself is being healthy and doing healthy things? Because the only way you get obese is by not having healthy behaviors. So wouldn't you say people who are obese don't love themselves? If they're obese, they don't love themselves because they're not taking care of their body.
I feel like they're struggling to love themselves, or they're trying to love themselves. But I don't think it's coming from that they don't love themselves, because the same could be said for like anybody who's dealing with like things like addiction. You're struggling to not do something so habitual anymore. We
don't promote like addicts. Like we don't put cocaine addicts on the front cover of Vogue, because that would be crazy.
Yeah.
But it's acceptable to put a 500-pound woman on the front cover of Vogue, or for Miss Alabama to win. But we would never put a cocaine addict as the winner of a Miss America. Do you know what I mean? And they don't love themselves because they're doing a behavior that's toxic for them. They say overeating is more dangerous than drinking alcohol. So that means we should be putting alcoholics on the front cover of Vogue. And that means they love themselves if they're confident in your eyes. I'm using your logic. Like if I had your logic, we'd have alcoholics on the front cover of Vogue as Miss Alabama.
Though. We've had a lot of pretty privileged get away with what has been enabled for them to do. Kate Moss is a great example. Like, she was this glorified woman, and it's like Kate Moss and cocaine, you know, and she was the standard. She was beautiful. She is one of the most beautiful women because of her face and what you said, like symmetry. Her and I believe Kendall Jenner have these faces that are very, you know, symmetrical. So
I can only speak for Kendall Jenner in this conversation, but she's not on Ozempic. As I know of right now, she's never been on Ozempic. But she does work out. She does take care of her body. I say true self-love and true body positivity is working out and taking care of your health. And you're saying as long as you love yourself and you're confident, no matter how big you are, that's good. Is that no? So what are you saying?
I'm saying if you love yourself enough to give yourself the luxury to care about yourself in the way that you want to, that's more than enough. There is a lot of backlash to that because there's a lot of people that aren't up for it. And that's, you know, just to the question if they're up for it or not. And then I guess further going from that, I feel like I don't fall with the whole, I guess, putting obesity and beauty, I guess, against each other. I don't feel like somebody is going who's 400 pounds going, like, for example, winning the pageant. I don't think even in the back of her head that she thought she was going to win, you know? Or if she did think she was going to win, maybe she's like, okay, well, I have the confidence to win, but that was what was chosen. The same way that what was chosen for such a long time has been the beauty standard of being fit and skinny.
But shouldn't that be the standard?
It's always been the standard.
Right, but shouldn't it still be the standard? Because right now it's not really the standard anymore because
like thick, you know,
Target is like, no, there are like obese models at Target now. Like, that's what you see when you walk in. Like, every time I go to Target, that's what I see. And every time there are certain companies, there are certain places, it's just everywhere now. And it is more normal. It is normal now. It's actually normal. 1 in 3 kids are obese. That's normal now. Yeah. You see obese kids all the time. I interviewed a lady the other day, and she's like 70. I was like, was there obese kids at your school? And she's like, never. I was like, never? None?
Yeah.
Because that's not... But it's like child abuse to have overweight children. It's like we're abusing children, allowing them to eat this food at school. I was just testifying to ban ultra-processed food from school because I don't want kids to eat that stuff, and that stuff's crap. And we designed it and made it so that companies could make more money off of our children, which is sick. I don't want that. I don't know. Do you want that?
As somebody who went to public school, and struggle with the food was terrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't even good food at the end of the day, so that's why I understand. Yeah, that's something to fight against, but at the same time, the struggle with me seeing, I guess, or agreeing in a way would be that I resonate with these things, but in a way where I was put under a certain environment during the same type of like want.
Yeah.
You know, so I wish at the end of the day I could have had the luxury that probably Kendall Jenner has to have the luxury I have now, even then to have the coaches that I have now. Yeah. I wish I could have had that or had something offered to me as a kid where it's not even like them babying me, it's them like holding me accountable for my actions versus me standing and being like, well, it's the system's problem. Well, it's this problem but like at the end of the day, there's so much that could be done. There's so much that could be resourceful to people that they could just take a stand to change themselves or to keep doing what they want to do. But, you know.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I'm still very curious about this idea that you have no standard for beauty. You're like, there's no beauty standards. But it's really interesting because I'm very intrigued, genuinely intrigued, because you say that you don't have beauty standards, and then you were saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that you were then saying that people who are morbidly obese and if they have confidence in their obesity even, they are beautiful because they say they're beautiful. Is that correct?
Yeah, because that's not something I can argue if they're telling or if they're embodying that. That's not something I could argue.
But how could we know it's sick, we know it's a disease, and we even know that it's unhealthy. Like, you wouldn't, like, would you go up to a cocaine addict and be like, that's beautiful that you're doing that? Like, you're beautiful for being, like, a cocaine addict.
No, because it's so much harder to tell. It's so much harder. Of course, you could tell somebody who's primarily obese that they're big because they're standing there and they're big. But the same way, like I was talking about the whole K-Moss thing, like the same way how we do have alcoholics. We have really, like, a lot of weird, like, I don't want to say it though, but like a lot of like predatorial men who have been put onto a pedestal. We have a lot of artists who have been let like slide a lot of things. And that's why I don't feel like I'm so perplexed on the whole like obese is the worst thing you can be. It's just more of like maybe going down that route will get you to the consequences that you didn't see before.
What do you mean by that?
Because a lot of people who struggle with obesity, once again, it's a struggle. I don't know a lot of, I guess, of the terms, but I know that there's some people that have like a physical or medical thing where they cannot lose weight or they had to take supplements to lose said weight. Not, I don't want to say Ozempic or maybe Ozempic, but there's always been that struggle since I was like taking the supplements myself when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I went to Walmart down the street from where I lived to go on this diet. And I wasn't even allowed to take them because I was, like 13. And I just took the supplements because they were so accessible to me.
And that's the desperation of the struggle of eating and body image. And
not having the education for it or the...
That's very true. I definitely agree with you on that. Yeah. I definitely agree. I remember doing that. Mm-hmm. And I will never allow the misinformation out there to be told that you can't lose weight.
Yeah.
Your body is broken. It's genetic. It's not. Anyone can lose weight. And I can actually say that because it's true. There's no science saying that you cannot lose weight. There's actually only one study, and it's a very, very, very small percentage. And it's not even, it still doesn't even back this up to say that you can't lose weight. Like, it is possible for anyone to lose weight. Mm-hmm. It is. And I made a video once saying, like, 400-pound babies don't come out of the womb. And that's true. Mm-hmm. A baby might come out 9 pounds, 11 pounds, but it's not coming out obese, And so it doesn't grow up obese unless of the situations you and I are talking about, which are different situations like feederism or abuse, neglect. And even then, you can still control it later on. Mm-hmm. So it's not like obesity is like this curse or this disease. And even Oprah, she's been talking about how, obesity is now a disease, but it's not. Mm-hmm. It is something we can control. And the same thing for alcoholism. It might run in the family. Right. Binge eating might run in the family, but you can break that pattern. And that's very empowering. Yeah. Which is why I'm sitting here with you and asking you about this. These obese people who think, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm fine, I don't need to change anything. Mm-hmm. And we're watching them die. And we're also glorifying what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But we're not glorifying alcoholics per se. Mm-hmm. We're not glorifying cocaine. We're not glorifying these things. But when it comes to sugar, which we know is more addictive than cocaine, we're like, oh, it's fine, keep eating. We're not glorifying gluttony in the way of showing, like on the front cover book, we don't have someone eating a burger necessarily, but we're showing morbidly obese women. So we are glorifying obesity in that way. Yeah. But we're not graphically showing gluttony. But in some videos we are. Like the mukbangs.
I can't.
Do you know what I mean? And so when you say things like, oh, well, like they think they're beautiful and they're confident in themselves. I'm like, they're confident in themselves and they're dying slowly. And we're allowing it because we have that mindset. Mm-hmm. I think. Yeah. I don't know. Do you see that?
I see what you mean. I see. That's why I'm saying it's a complex thing.
But my thing is, like, is it complex if it's science?
Science.
Like, it's science that sugar is more addictive than cocaine, right? Mm-hmm. And it's science that overeating is more damaging to the body than drinking alcohol. Yeah. And so you and I know personally, because we've both struggled with binge eating. I don't know if you still struggle with binge eating, but I struggled with binge eating my whole life until I was, 17. I'm 20 now. Mm-hmm. And it's something we're glorifying. Mm-hmm. but not like, maybe not overtly, but like when we're showing 15-year-olds the morbidly obese woman on the front covers of everything on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, we're showing them it's okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I completely see what you mean. For me, I don't know if it's just because I've been doing a program where I've been, I guess, taught to just see like the rabbit hole of, I guess, people's own mindsets and their consequences and their actions, their motivations, everything. So for me, that's why it's hard just to like pin it into one thing. When I think of, I guess, or not advocating, sorry, glorifying obesity in that way, I feel like it's just hard to not be misinformed. And there's a lot of people who eat the media up and they consume it so much. And that's where, I guess, that's where you see those problems forming. But for me, I just feel like it's all about having that, like, the sex talk with the kids, or like having that talk or that communication, or having that conversation, like we're having the conversation, like, of actually touching that topic. Like, okay, so mom, I saw this girl, like, she's this big, like, should I be this big? Or even if somebody's seeing their kids, like, I guess, see that on the phone or something, it's like they're more than willing enough to have the conversation. But once again, we can't control what type of mindset their parents have, what type of mindset the kids could have. It's all just here or go, really, with that. So that's why I struggle with that, answering that question.
You struggle with answering if being obese is beautiful.
No, if I guess why it's hard for me to continue that connection, sorry. Why confidence and somebody who's obese has all the confidence and that they're beautiful, but we're watching them again, like, just die. I feel like I wish I had more of the power to just try to motivate somebody to do whatever they'd like to do, but it's just touch and go. It's just really what they're willing to
Is
do
it like
for
a
themselves.
you do you mindset you kind of have? Cause I had this model on, and she said the same. She said something similar. She was a little more like overt about it, like, yeah, you do you, boo. And I was like, yeah, but like, if the boo is too much, I don't want to let her do her. I want to help her. And I hear kind of that part of you.
Yeah.
But then I also hear that part of you that's like, but also, like, you do you.
I see what you mean. I'm sorry.
And that's why I'm like...
Well, if I could give you some context behind that. Well, I grew up with my brother, and my coach have a very similar mindset of, like, I came into that program, into my Compass program. I came into my brother crying all the time, like, I'm being bullied, I'm doing this, or they're doing this to me. Same with the Compass trainings I did. I would go and be like, well, I felt like I've always been targeted, and I have all this anger in me. And for them to make me do a task where I have to stare at myself in the mirror and really take that in, like, for me, I don't know why I've always had this thing behind me of, like, why has there always been such a connection as to, like, people thinking that I don't think I'm beautiful because of my size. When as a kid, I was always told, like, oh, you're really pretty, but, like, you'd be prettier if you were skinny. And same with my brother. When I would cry to him about those things, he would be like, okay, mama, but, like, what are you doing? What are you doing to, like, not want to feel that way? Are you doing anything to fix that? Are you doing anything to yourself to change that? Or do you want to change that? So it all just falls with having that patience and that education of, do you even know what you want to do with yourself? Do you want to continue down that path? And I guess that's why I'm so, like, a touch and go of, like, oh, do you? Because I'm like, well, at the end of the day, if somebody feels beautiful and they're big, but they have problems leading on later that they struggle in, and they don't see that, then, we have nothing but more of the intention to want to help that, to want to prevent that, if it goes down that path. But you said, like, scientifically speaking, it always tends to go down that path of health complications, right?
Right.
So that's where I understand the frustration of, like, I want to do more for you, but I'm not going to go and change somebody's character or change what they stand for if they stand for it that much.
But will you at least point it out? Like, hey, girl, like, you know, I'm a little worried about you. Hey, girl, can we go on a walk? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it hurts to do that. Like, that is not fat phobic. Do you even believe in fat phobia? Is that a thing, too?
I have, like, I don't know if my definition of fat phobia.
What's your definition of fat phobia?
Fat phobia, for me, has always been, like, and I think that's because of my personal connection to it. When I was, I'll explain my own example. Like, when I was a kid, I would always be like, oh, girl, like, you're not going to fit into those jeans. Like, you have all this, like, you're not, like, these things are only for skinny girls. So maybe, like, you need to do this because they're not going to accommodate to your size. So why aren't you? And that's something I told myself all the time. And I was always so, I guess, fatphobic towards myself. But when I hear people being like, oh, like, you should go work out and, like, do this and that, and then somebody gets offended by it, I feel like that has a lot to do with their internal conflicts on it. Because if somebody told me, oh, you should work out, like, I think you should do some crunches, or have you followed a diet plan? I'd be like, that's feedback. Like, okay, no, I haven't. Maybe talk to me about that. But that's because I'm a receptive person, you know?
Yeah, but, like, okay, what's the definition of fat phobia to you?
I think it correlates to degradation with somebody's weight.
Is that a bad thing if they're overweight? Is it a bad thing to say something? Like, is it a bad thing to be fat phobic?
It's kind of, and I think I could touch onto, like, how the crew member that the cast member that I told you that I had been on a video with before, he had the kind of the same thing where he was pointing out, like, oh, if somebody shamed me, I might lose weight faster. You know? And for me, I've always taken a stance, and that's why for me, body positivity is something so different, because for me, it's always been take a stance for yourself, you know? But if you have...
And would you say taking a stand for yourself is doing the healthy things?
It's doing what's best for you.
But you know, here's my thing. You know that being healthy is the right thing to do. Like, you know that for yourself. You know that for anyone who's overweight. You know that the right thing to do is to be healthy. Meaning move more, eat better whole food.
Yeah, have a healthier
you know that
mindset.
So why is that bad to, like, want to, like, help people with that?
It's not bad, but I feel like going about it certain ways is what causes that bad conflict, causes that negativity. Like,
so how should we go about it? Like, if we were doing it your way? Like, I'm just curious.
Yeah,
let's
like,
discover it. What would it be like if we were...
Well, going to what he had said, it reminded me of that. Of like, oh, like, if you were to just, like, be motivated by bullying, maybe you lose weight. Like, I've been through the bullying.
Yeah.
That didn't help me. That made
it did help me. I gotta say, it did help me.
No, it made me self-harm because I had so many other things going on besides my weight, where I was like, bro, like, my weight is the only thing that they could touch because it's physically on me. But I've been touched in so many other places, like, I guess in my mind with trauma, that the thing that I resorted to was the self-harm. It's my fault. It's my fault that I'm this way, and it's my fault that I'm hearing these comments from other people. So that's why it's hard for me to pinpoint that towards other people, because I've always come from a blame spot to myself. So that's where that came from, and that's why for me it's so different going about it. Like, I could say here, like, being healthy is going on a walk, going on a mile, doing something, getting up, being active. That's my viewpoint of what I want for my life. Yeah. But not a lot of people want the same things, which is what kind of sucks. Yeah. You know? Same way we could tell somebody who vapes, somebody who's probably 14 and vaping and doesn't want to stop, you could prevent this from not doing this anymore. Yeah. And yet you're going to grow up into be like 25, 30 with problems. Yeah. You know? But it's a lot more of like, I could bring the horse to come, you know, to the lake, but I can't make him drink the water. Right. You know?
But so it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, for somebody overweight, you're not going to say anything to them about their weight, about their size, or nothing. Even if they're glorifying or glamorizing, you're not going to be a stand for a better version of them. Because if that means that you would tell them, hey, let's go for a walk, or we should go eat like some different food, or let's go cook at home, or whatever, it's almost like if you... I don't know if it's society's made you feel this way or what, but it sounds like you're like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say anything to them. You would just, like, keep swiping or keep scrolling or just move on with your day. Is
Kind
it
of
true?
like minding my business more so. I feel like that's where that stems from, like me minding.
That's interesting. You said that because our tax dollars are going to fund institutions that are paying for morbidly obese people to be the cover of Vogue, to be the front covers of these things. How does that make you feel?
I feel like currently what's going on in the political scheme of things, I don't feel like that's all our money is going to.
No, it's not all of it. No,
a lot of the money is being also defunded. A lot of the systems are being taken down. So I feel like that's going to add on to the whole extremity of already not having that resource. So it's like already kind of like kicking a dog while they're down, you know? That's how I see it, because I can't go to somebody and have this entire justification of, you're really big, you should lose weight, because if not, you're going to suffer a lot of consequences. And they could come to me and take that as criticism, they could take it as feedback, or they could take it as an insult. The second they take that into an insult, I lost them. Because I'm no longer going to be able to motivate them or push them. They're not going to see me in that light anymore.
How is telling them you want to go for a walk an insult? Or how is being like, oh my gosh, I just found this new recipe, girl, it's so good. Like, let's go make it together. Like, how is that an insult?
I don't think that's an insult. I think there's certain ways to go about it that do, but there's some people that are very sensitive to things like that.
But that's not like we can't, like you said, like we cannot control how people react to what we say. Like, we can't.
Yeah.
But we can be authentic to ourselves. And I want to know, like, what would it take for you to feel okay telling somebody who is overweight, because you know their struggle so deeply? Like, what would it take for you to, like, have the courage to be like, I would love to, like, go for a walk with you, or I'd love to, do you know what I mean? I think, like, if you saw someone, like, glorifying the obesity online even, because I think that's where we can make the most impact, is, like, online. And being honest with women online, and enough honest women online, I think will, like, change the narrative.
Right.
Because right now the narrative is that big is beautiful and healthy. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you don't agree with that.
It's such a play, though. That's why. Because I feel like there's women that have curvy bodies that are all muscle. And they're healthier than probably somebody right beside them in the same gym atmosphere, and they have diabetes. Like, it's not talked about, and I feel like that's why there's a lot of dismissal to anorexia to begin with. Like, people don't shine the light on that either, of how they're struggling in the same way, but people come up, so much on why big people are struggling, but we never shine light as to the problem in general being a very much systemic problem. And then on top of that, what you said about kids and the school foods and everything, it all aligns into being something way freaking huge.
Okay, this is interesting. What do you think about the overuse of words like, oh, all foods are good food? There's no such thing as bad food. How do you feel about that?
I know there's bad food out there.
Well, there's obese women who, like, will sit online, like they know all their stuff. They're, like, promoting it. Their obesity, literally. And then they're like, oh, no food's bad food, girl. Like, you can eat whatever you want. Like, all food is good. Now, what do you say to that?
I wonder if they're coming from, like, a rhetoric place, or if they're coming from, like, a...
It's genuine. I can tell you it's genuine because I've seen enough of it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I need your feed.
No, you do not need my feed. I promise you don't need my feed.
It's so...
That was my old feed when I was 320 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. The feed that I've always, I guess, gotten has always been gym buffs or gym girls or Pilates girls.
I mean, that's great. I'm glad that you have, like, gym motivation.
But that's what I mean by, that's why I'm so, like, constructed differently, because I've always been exposed to doing something for your health doesn't always have to be so combative. It doesn't have to be so destructive to your mindset. It just is like a flick of a switch of just, are you locking in or are you not locking in? You're not locking in, you can't complain about it then.
But that's not fat phobic, right? Can you identify, like, what is a fat phobic person to you?
Somebody who just doesn't like, stand, or wants to insult.
What's an insult to somebody's weight?
Kind of like filing them down to just, they are their weight. They're nothing more than just fat. And I feel like that's what I've seen.
Wouldn't you say that's a good place to start, though? Like, isn't that, like, a good place? Like, some people need that rock of, like, reality.
Of,
some
like,
people.
Just telling somebody, like, you're fat. Like,
yeah, because why is fat a bad word?
It's not a bad word. But
you just said it would make someone fat-phobic. You know what I mean?
Or, well, seeing them as just that.
Not calling them just fat. Like, okay.
Yeah, because you call me fat all day, and I'll just, it's like, well, like, that's just something that you're letting me know.
Some girls would say that's fat-phobic to say that. Some girls would say that
because they're taking it personal. They're taking it in a personal way where they're just like, well, that hurts my feelings. Right? Like, no, we can't control it.
So why can't we tell morbidly obese people who you say are confident? I don't think they're confident, because if you're sick, I don't think you're able to be confident in that sickness. I think that's like fake confidence and fake love, because that's not. Because wouldn't you say true self-love is taking care of your body? And, like, fueling it with good nutrients and moving it because it needs it, and that's what health is.
Yeah, but not a lot of people have the luxury to be exposed to that.
That's funny you say that, because I don't agree. Walking is free. Mm-hmm. Moving is free, actually. Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. And the dollar store, you can buy whole foods in the can. Yeah. Even with us, Snap, you can.
Yeah. What more so I'm referring to is, like, me going back in my head from, like, my past of being a kid. Like, as a kid, I didn't have a job. I didn't have the money or the resources. I didn't have a dad. I had a mom who worked all day and a brother who'd fed us what he could, which was chips and noodles and some of whatever my mom could make when she could have money for it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I feel like there's certain people that get to that extreme without the intention of doing that themselves, that when they're left at that extreme, they're trying to make a change, and then they get all that bashing, all that negative, all that, bad connotation, and then they don't even feel like they have the chance to be like, well, now if I do this, it's only going to prove either me right or them right, and why am I trying to be right? Being right isn't clearly a good thing, It's not always a good thing.
But is it about being right? It's just about health. Mm-hmm. Do you know? Right? It's not like right or wrong. Like, there is no, like, perception of health. Like, there is statistically a way to be healthy. Mm. Right? Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Statistically a way of being healthy? There is a way of being healthy.
And scientifically, if you're not this weight, you're healthy. Would you agree?
Yeah, but there's just that whole gap,
What gap?
The gap of people that just can't accomplish that.
Can't.
It's not that
don't you think anyone can?
Anyone can be allowed to, but it's just having that network, having those things. Because if I could be as honest as I can, if I didn't have my coaches, if I didn't get the scan that I got for my body to know how much was muscle mass, how much was body fat, how much was my water weight, I would have never known how to make that subtle change to be like, wait, I could actually be like what I see on media, like this slim, thick girl. Like, I could actually have a slimmer tummy and a bigger butt if I work my muscle mass, if I even out my portions of my muscle mass, because I think my left side is more than my right. That's only information I got, because I went out of my way to go look for it.
So it sounds like you actually do know what's beautiful and healthy. And it sounds like you actually aspire to be beautiful and healthy. And it sounds like you actually know what it takes to be beautiful and healthy too.
Yeah. Well, I'm beautiful, but I don't feel like it's going to take me away to get there. I just feel like I want my health to give itself, to speak, because I've suffered with my body weight I was, almost 300 pounds? Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm 263. Mm-hmm. I was 294 in November.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. So, right now, I'm 263.
It's amazing.
And the only reason why that was a push was because of everything personally attached to me. Was because of the surgery. I gained so much weight after it. So it was like, what do I do in order to not keep feeling like my entire left side is just destroyed? What do I do for my cervix not to feel like I'm going through it every day? What can I do to get myself to even walk again?
Very real.
And that all came from go out for a walk.
There you go.
Go do something.
So why wouldn't you tell people who are really overweight, who are glamorizing and glorifying their obesity, Why wouldn't you tell them what you just said? Because you know it's helped you, and you know it will help them. So what's the point in not telling them that?
Because I don't know their story. I would have if they. So
what does it matter of their story? Anyone can walk. It's free.
Well, I mean, like, I get the walking thing, but, like, I mean, like, telling that to them with that intent. The intent behind it is.
Isn't that okay? Because your intent is only good to help them help themselves. To help them help themselves. It would be different if you were like, you should go jump off a cliff. I'd be like, okay, that's crazy.
Right.
But that's not what you're saying. You're like, do this because it's going to make you feel better, and it made me feel better. Why wouldn't you do that?
I feel like I've never been, I don't know. I don't feel like I've ever not been a way to not do that. I've told my friends that before where I'm
That's
like,
good. But I mean, like, next time you see someone struggling, would you tell them that? If you had the chance and an opportunity? Like, even online.
I would probably ask them why or their condition or what's the story they tell themselves to be the way they are and what stance are they with that.
You know why I'm asking you this? Or I'm just keep asking you this? Sure. Because I see that we could have so many more healthy young girls and girls in general and women in general. And I think this narrative we've been pushing for too long now, that you can be any size, you're beautiful no matter what, you're healthy no matter what, is really harming us, especially girls. Because I think women are very beautiful people and very beautiful souls. And we're very powerful. Yeah. But if we're sick, we can't have children. We cannot keep the world going if we're not taking care of our health. And that's really important to me. Is it important to you?
My health?
Just women's health and women taking care of their bodies, because we are like the most precious things on earth. Yeah. We can create life. Yeah. But, like, we're letting these narratives be pushed on us that are preventing us from having children. When you're obese, you can't have kids as much. Sometimes you're infertile. You know? Would you agree with that?
For me, I feel like that agenda, it just depends who has the time to see it that way. Because at the end of the day, there's a huge push for women and being body positive and how that goes and spreads onto maybe like people that are obese that are glorifying it. But for me, there's so much more going on with the influence of media that isn't even, I feel like, up to par in my head as to such a critical issue.
Body positivity is not such a critical issue.
No, like the backlash from it.
What do you mean?
Like, okay, so let's say right now you're asking, right, the push for why you're so passionate for this, right? So the reason for me, it's more of like, I'm also passionate in that way, but for me, I like to hear the raw before making an assumption of what could it possibly be, because at the end of the day, sure, there's science behind things, there's information behind that, but are they aware of that? Do they know that much in detail?
Yeah, so you're saying like there's like a lack of education?
There's a lack of education behind that greatly.
Is. But there's also this innate knowing you were talking about earlier. You were like, I knew inside. It was like the first thing you said. I was like, wow. Yeah. I was like, wow, when you said that. I knew
inside that it was going to help me to lose the weight.
And I think we all know. And I think when we all know and we still choose to do the wrong thing is when we do need support, which is why, like, my mom and I's program, we have an accountability group where we help women every day, kind of like your coach. Yeah. We are coaches. we are coaches. We do. We coach them every day, and we help these women lose weight, and we hold them accountable to what they're willing to do. But they can't even come to our program unless they know that they have a problem and they have to be ready to change. And these people who sit behind these screens, I was one of them. I was the girl who was sitting behind the screen, who was scrolling. I was eating my bag of chips. I was binging, but I was alone. But nobody talked about that, like online. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, instead of them being like,
2020 was heavy with all kinds of food and everything.
Instead of being like, no, for real, like, guys, like, when I'm not on TikTok, I'm in my room eating food, and I'm, like, stuffing my face, and that's, like, my form of self-harm. But that's like still, we still don't talk about that. I've never heard someone talk about that except for like me. And like I've heard a few people talk about similar things, but the real truth behind body positivity is that it's another form of self-harm, and it's an addiction. Like you and I know, binging is an addiction, and food is an addiction. And so if we can't like be honest and have conversations like this and share that message that your body isn't broken, that you can lose the weight once and for all, and that it's not beautiful to be unhealthy, and that it will never be beautiful to be unhealthy. And you're nodding your head, so do you agree that being unhealthy is not beautiful?
Well, I nod a lot. I'm like Carrie.
No, I know.
I'm nodding.
Really curious. I'm so curious.
I don't know. I agree with a lot of the wanting to have the conversation and that we get to do that, but that's where my line just comes from, like, personal. And that's probably my problem, where I, once again, I'm taking it personal, probably in a personal place where I want to take it personal, where I want to be able to, like, for example, like, my influence on my page isn't oh, I'm a big Latina and I'm proud of it, or this and that. It's just more of like, this is me, this is what I look like, and I feel like I'm beautiful. I feel like I pop off on my makeup and that I love to do what I do. But here's also me working out, me doing this. This is the vlog of my life. Like, this is what happened. I blogged about my surgery. I blogged about my gym and me running and being on this journey. But for me, it's just like, I don't ever shift that towards the target, towards them being like, well, that's what, at the end of the day, that's all you are. It's like, what do you want to be?
I get that. I hear what you're saying, where you're like, you want people to see the potential in themselves, which I agree with. But I don't know that being like, I don't think it's truthful to say, oh, I'm 300 pounds, I'm beautiful, and I'm going to lose weight. Like, I think it's like, no, you can be a beautiful person on the inside, be 320 pounds, and see the potential in who you could be, who could be beautiful when you reach that place. Do you know what I mean? I think that's more honest. I don't think it's honest to say that being 700 pounds is beautiful or being 400 pounds is beautiful, because we know it's not beautiful. I mean, it wasn't glamorized 50 years ago. It's only recently that it's been like so cool and so trendy, but it's not. It shouldn't be. It's not healthy, which you know.
Have you kind of ever been told, in a way, the things that you're telling me, do you think that ever played onto why your thoughts are the way that they are? On the whole topic of, like, you don't think somebody who's like 300 pounds would be beautiful?
No, I haven't, like, I think I get what you're saying. You're like, have I ever heard people saying, like, oh, overweight people aren't pretty?
Yeah, like, or do you ever think you've heard that personally, even to you, like, because you're 300 pounds?
I've heard both. I've heard that I'm not pretty. I heard when I was overweight, honestly, I heard way more than I was. My friends, they fed me junk food. My family members were honest with me, but I didn't like it. Because I was like, no, I'm beautiful. But also, I don't look at overweight people and think, gosh, you're so beautiful. I don't think they're not nice to look at. I don't like looking at them. And I don't think they're beautiful. But I have compassion for overweight people. I'm like, okay, I know that you need help, and I know how to help you, and I know how that feels to feel the way you do, and I know what you struggle with. And so I have compassion, but I have this want to help them. So if I had like an overweight friend, which I do have an overweight friend, like, I'm always working out with her because, like, I want the best for her, and she knows she's not beautiful, and I know she's not beautiful. I know she can be. I see the potential in her. But it's not beautiful to be overweight. It's not beautiful to not take care of yourself. And it shows on the exterior. So I see how people don't take care of themselves when they're overweight, and how much they really hate themselves because they're not taking care of themselves. Therefore, they don't love themselves. And that's why this lie of body positivity online, these morbidly obese people who say they're beautiful and promote it and say it's okay and healthy and beautiful, I'm like, you're lying to yourself and millions of people. And I don't think they realize the damage that they're doing to young girls who really struggle with the truth. They don't know the truth. I didn't know the truth. Because when I was 320 pounds, I believed a lot of people that said I was beautiful. And I kept eating junk food. And I kept eating and eating and eating because it was okay. It was accepted. But it's not okay. And it wasn't beautiful. There's nothing beautiful about binge eating in the corner of your room, not being able to walk up the steps, not being able to go to school, being depressed and anxious. There's nothing beautiful about that. Nothing. Struggling to put my pants on, that's not beautiful, right? What's beautiful about not being able to walk up the steps? Really, I mean, that's why I asked you that so many times.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, please tell me how being unable to do normal things like get in the car and fit on an airplane seat is beautiful. How is that beautiful? What's beautiful about that? Truly, I mean, tell me. Because I don't understand it.
Yeah. I think I'm seeing, like, I guess where my complication is, because I feel like our visions are very different. Like a 300-yard point of view from it. Seeing the way that you express yourself, I feel like I don't think I'd ever be able to agree. Like, I hear you out, I really do, and I understand, like, it's crazy to hear how, like, not crazy, sorry, but, like, for me, that's just a term to be like, oh, it's crazy to hear this, but, like, no, it's crazy just to hear you pop. Like, I like hearing you talk about, like, the way that you talk about things, because it's crazy. I get to see, I guess, even, like, your expression and everything, just the story behind it, you know, the story behind what might have even perplexed you to say this, and the way that you probably even received that yourself, you know. And that's where I'm getting at. Like, for me, that my experience was entirely different, where it was bash, abuse. Yeah. You're not pretty, or you're pretty, but you could be prettier if you're skinny.
Yeah.
And so that's why I guess I have such a bounce off effect, where it doesn't affect me, because at the end of the day, my results are my results, and the people that think that certain things are pretty will continue to keep thinking that those things are pretty or not pretty. But at the end of the day, when it comes to health and beauty, there's a split for me, because beauty was so, once again, destructive in my life.
So will we just agree to disagree that health and beauty, I think health and beauty go together. You don't. You think
they're their own stories.
You think, okay, but let me ask you this. You think that health there is a metric for health, right? You agree with that? Like, if you're a certain weight, you're not healthy. Like, that's just science. You agree with that?
It's just science.
But no matter what weight you are, you're always beautiful, inside and out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I don't feel like any personal attachment. There you go. I don't feel any personal attachment towards any beauty standard.
So you have no beauty standards?
I feel like my standard is, and I sound like I'm repeating myself, but my standard is the word that I built for myself. You know?
Okay. So your standard is the world that you have built. The word
that I've built for myself.
What is that? The word you have built yourself is your beauty standard.
My word is that I'm committed, I'm loving, and I'm fierce.
Okay.
Usually when people meet me, they're like, oh, like, you're beautiful, or like, oh, like, go girl, like, you know. I, once again, like, black cat deflection, where I'm like, I don't need to hear that.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear that.
Okay.
Because it doesn't validate anything that I take for myself.
Yeah.
Because of, I guess, how much has gone through my life of me being bash. And, like, not that I'm numbing it out, but I heard it.
Yeah.
I heard it. I used it as a motivator for so long. I then used it as a crutch for long.
Okay.
I used it as an excuse. And then I tore it out, tossed it out. At the end of the day, my results are my results, and what can I do about them? What can people do about their own results?
Yeah.
I can't control that.
Yeah.
I wish I can, and I wish I could influence that. I'll probably influence it to the best of my ability to stand for women's, really, their rights, because there's a lot of women that are bashed for so much more.
Their right to be healthy?
Their rights, period.
And to be healthy. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
All right. That's what we can both agree on, though. Like, just
standing for their right to be healthy. Yeah, we can 100% stand for that. Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad at least we can stand for that.
Of course. You know? No, yeah. Well, and you've lost weight. I want to congratulate you on your weight loss that you've done so far. That's amazing. You've already lost 23?
Yeah, that's actually a topic I did want to discuss with you about
weight loss.
Weight loss and a goal. I've never had a goal for my weight
Really?
loss. No, never. And it wasn't until it was like coached out of me that was like, "What's your goal?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then I saw my results, and then I did the math, and of course, half of me was supposed to be what is healthy of what I am, I guess, based off my height.
You know what's crazy?
What happened?
I lost half of me. The person sitting here today
like
was
half of me is gone
on me. I know.
Wow.
It was pretty recent that I finally.
Wow, that's crazy.
Thank you. But so, what is your goal? Wait, do you not know? Are you asking me, or like, what do you? I'm so curious.
Just a little like sporadic fact, just because I understand what you mean about like the whole like people don't see the vision or don't see their potential like in that way, and that's what I guess that's what I related to. Like I never saw that as a goal. I always saw it like as a I want to be healthy, but my coaches really were like, it was my coach Jillian and Daisy. They were both like, well, what's your goal? Do you have a goal? And I'm like, no. And they're like, why have you been avoiding this long that you don't have a goal?
Why were you avoiding it?
I don't think I ever took the care to really know the math or even what my results were, because I didn't know what I was reading. So I reached out to my friend in my group, and she's one of the trainers at Beachbody Fitness or whatever company she's from. But she's from coming from a point where she did give me feedback, and she's like, oh, that's when I realized my muscle mass, my water weight, my actual, body mass and everything. The goal was originally 250.
Okay.
Because that's what I thought I could give my best potential to. Because I didn't know. I've never lost this much weight that
Yeah, congratulations.
fast. Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. My coaches are pushing me for more because they're like, well,
you're at 250 right now.
No, I'm at 263.
Okay, and you want to be at 250. And then when you get to 250, you're going to make a new goal? Is that what it is?
I'm going to keep it a routine to see how I experience my body, to give myself that, and then see if I'm willing to commit to myself of like, is this my new lifestyle?
Okay.
And if it is, then maybe you'll see me thinner. But I've just never, and I feel like that's probably where people struggle too. Like,
you know what? When you get to your like very, 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 very end goal, you should come back on. That would be really fun.
Let's talk again.
No, that would be really fun. Yeah. We should do that. Oh, I can't wait. You have to text me and let me know when you get to 250. That's so exciting.
Yeah, but I feel like that's what plays into probably too about people not being educated or informed. Like I didn't know that was a lack for myself.
Yeah.
That I didn't have a goal, that I didn't even know where to start with the goal. Okay, this is how much I weigh. This is the math of whatever I have in my body.
It's true. They do not educate us in school on how to cook, on how to eat clean foods. What is a clean food? What is a whole food? I've seen your stories of your foods, and like they look so amazing too. Thank you. Well, we don't believe in deprivation, so I used to eat Burger King every day. Wow. It's like my favorite thing. A double cheeseburger, bacon cheeseburger with a strawberry milkshake. I had two. I literally had double everything. I had double cheeseburger, double fries, and double shakes, and it was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And then I started making it at home, and then I kept losing weight, and I'm like, I'm eating burgers and fries and milkshakes, and I'm losing weight. Yeah. What? Mm-hmm. I love this life, and it was amazing. I mean, it still is. I eat ice cream every day.
Yeah. Me with my low carb or zero net carb tortillas.
Yeah, exactly. Like whatever your step is, that's why we call it Step It Up, because it's like one step at a time. Mm-hmm. And just like you're saying, like you make that goal and then you get there and then you make your new goal, like whatever it is. Yeah. That's what we do in our program too. We're just like, you get to your goal. So your first step is 2 pounds. Yeah. Great. Now that you got 2 pounds down, you go to your next. And one girl, she's down 86 pounds in 8 months. All natural.
What?
I'm so proud of her. If she's listening, I'm so proud.
That's resilience. Wow. That is.
Wow. It's amazing. Awesome. So if you're watching this, change is possible for you.
Wow. It is.
I believe that beauty equals health. I know we can agree to disagree, but we can both agree that being healthy is good for you. We can agree that there is science behind what healthy is. And do you have any last words that you want to share with the audience before we close?
Just please, just be graceful with yourself, push yourself, lock in. Those are always the words I say, lock in, and just make every day effective. Do something every day that you can just be grateful that you did, and you're not upset of ending your day with something that you could have done.
Yeah.
That's always my push.
Where can they find you if they want to watch you, learn about you?
Well, I'm on TikTok. I'm Marvelous. On Instagram, I'm art.kive3. Those are really the two bigger platforms. On YouTube, you could watch me on Jubilee. They're on a couple of episodes, but
amazing.
Not into details too much.
We should go on Jubilee together. That would be fun.
We should sign up. I'll send you the newsletter that they send me.
That'd be great. We should
go
do that.
on the anorexia or the obesity and
we should do it. We should do it. You should. Yeah, that'd be fun. All right, I will link everything down below as well for them to find you. But thank you so much for coming out here today and coming on. You are such a gem. You're such a kind soul.
You as well. And I could tell that all you want to do is just really like spread your word.
Oh, thank you.
You know, and that's why I felt like I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna go because
you had bravery and courage to come on today, and I am so grateful for that because we need more courageous women in the world. Thank you for having courage. Thank you.
Hey, we noticed that 79.2% of you are not subscribed, which means you're watching our videos, you like the content, but you haven't made the commitment. So we would love it if you would subscribe. And if you want to join our Women's Accountability Group, don't forget to click the link in the description to join. We're only accepting amazing, awesome, and ready women. So please join if you're one of those. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we will see you all the time.